Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I'm here with the Aston Martin Valour Gold Star. I'm going to give you the Stage 6 effects of this car as well as a little discussion on a live racing tune and how to drive this car. So quickly going into this car, this is essentially a Purple Star car with a few missing fusions. It's just as good as the Purple Star except being slightly slower, which also means that for the most part, the Stage 6 effects are the same as the Purple Star with slight adjustments. At Stage 5 only, this car runs a dyno of 8.094 with proper launching and shifting. It usually runs under that time. So starting at engine, adding engine Stage 6 will give us a drop of 0.121 to the time, ending at a 7.973 dyno, which can run a little bit faster than that. The next Stage 6 is turbo, and this is the worst one for this car, giving you barely any improvement at 0.036 drop in time on the dyno. This is really bad. This is in fact the worst Stage 6 you can get. Right next to it and next up is the second worst Stage 6, and that is the intake. Intake Stage 6 only drops the time by 0.082. A little better than turbo, but barely any improvement. The two combined is basically your engine Stage 6 effects. Next up, we have Nitrous. Now, Nitrous does give you a little better results than engine, putting it above engine at a time drop of 0.188, which gets you right near 7.9 dyno, 7.906. But again, each one of these Stage 6s, even with all other Stage 5s, will still run under the actual dyno you will see on the screen. Coming up next is one of the better, if not the second best, Stage 6 altogether, and that is body. Body drops the time by 0.286, which is a pretty substantial drop relative to the rest of the Stage 6s. However, it's not a huge make it or break it kind of drop, and we'll talk about that when we do live racing tunes. After that comes tire. Tire slightly worse than body at a 0.201 drop, still giving you a decent amount of drop, but again, not really as big as you may see in cars with slower Stage 5 times, but relatively fast Foley max times. This car has good Foley max time, but the Stage 5 time is already very quick, right in line with cars like the McLaren F1 Legend car. Now, we'll come to transmission. This is the best Stage 6 with a time drop of 0.318, and certainly is the Stage 6 to get if you want to see a substantial drop in time when it comes to the performance of the car. Now, fully maxed, the car reaches a dyno of 6.888. One thing to note about these new cars, most of them are not very tunable, and certainly this car as well, because the final drive goes right to 2.0, tire goes right to 0, nitrous go to the right. Anything different only lowers performance on the dyno, does not increase it. So you're going to run the car basically with a 2.0 final drive for everything. That's why I say it's not very tunable, because if it has variables based on the final drive that improves performance, that's more of a tunable car. With this car, basically everything gets set and then it's just adding parts. So that affects how you would set this car up for live racing. But let's talk about launching and shifting. This car is an interesting launch in that it has to launch at 5K to get a 0 RPM drop, and then you have to get nitrous to activate instantly to get probably your best run out of it. I'm not a world record run guy, so whatever I run is whatever I run. This will probably be decent in the grand scheme of things, but I suspect the world record is going to be a little bit lower than this. May even hit 6.69, but I doubt it. Maybe if they can get that instant nitrous to activate faster than I can, and some devices can do that, you may get a 6.69 run out of this car, which would be great. Now, what about live racing? So this car, because it is already an 8.09 car at Stage 5 only, it is very fast and is likely to end up in a very fast lobby quickly. This is not the car you try to build for like 11s and 12-second lobbies. You can, but then you're not really using many parts, and therefore you will actually not really be at an advantageous position when it comes to the car anyway. So what would I do as far as building the car for a lower upgrade setup? Generally, you want to drop parts that affects this number without dropping that number the most. So things like engine, which tend to drop a lot of points here, will have to be considered. Notice with this car though, that stays up pretty high even though I'm dropping off a ton of stages here. That is barely moving. The one that does seem to drop more points, but then you're also giving up a strong stage 6, is actually dropping off some body stages. It gives a little more drops per drop of the stage without huge effects here, but remember you're losing, as soon as you drop that stage 6, you're losing 0.286 of performance right there. But you're gaining it on the low PP side, lower performance point side, and therefore it may pay off. Now, turbo and intake will be the next to consider to drop off. As you can see, now it's starting to really taper off on this. But again, this car so far has pretty high points here until you get rid of pretty much those 4 stages. And then you're finally in the 640s. Now, the beauty of it is though, on this side, the number stays up. And if you're leveraging stage 6 transmission, that stays high. Now, you can drop off some tire stages, but again, you're dropping a pretty strong stage 6 to get a nice drop in points here, but also a nice drop points here. This isn't what I would consider an optimal setup. This is what I would consider like, you know, if you just want a really low performance point, decently high evo setup in say the 10th, second range, this is not bad. Even that gives you like a 10.459 dyno. That's not a good dyno spot. I don't like 10.5s. Those are spots that, yes, it's a lobby, but no, I don't like it there because it's hard to judge whether you're on the faster or slow end of it. So I tend to go for something a little different, a little faster in 10.2 or a little slower in 10.7. The 6, the 2s, the 7s, the flat numbers like 10.0, 11.0, those are all pretty manageable. The 5s, the 4s, and the 6s can be a little tricky to manage when it comes to building and then managing the car. So what stages would I add in to start pumping that up? As you know, when we added anything stage 4, it tends to have a big jump. So you start off at the lower stages with 1. That adds too much with too little. So we'll leave that and go check out intake and see if that bumps it, but if this jumps up. Now, that's the kind of numbers you want to see. Not to say body won't give you a little more, but you want the numbers that obviously gives you a little extra oomph without losing a lot. So that took off almost 0.2 with that 1 stage of intake, putting you at 10.309. That's not a bad spot. 10.299 I think is a lobby bracket edge, although it could also be 199. So we'll have to see. Now let's go ahead and compare that. And this is again when you're building a live racer, you want to do these comparisons. Let's compare that to 1 stage of body. Even though the numbers may not look as good and it's a little higher on the performance point, the effects might be better, but it's not. So 1 stage of intake in this case trumps 1 stage of body. And this is kind of the compare and contrast of performance pieces that you have to think about when you're building a live racer, because again, you want to minimize the increase on the left side, maximize the increase on the right side, but also get to a dyno you want. Okay, so this puts it up to 635, and let's see if it puts us in the 10.2 range or 10.1 range. Where does the dyno land? Because this car, again, is not very tunable here, you're kind of playing the game with the parts. 10.132 is not a good spot. Again, it's kind of in the middle of a bracket, and that is not an edge tune. And I would prefer to be on an edge if I'm going to tune a car for live. So again, back to the drawing board. Now, since I'm only looking to bump very slight, I may just pump in just a little more nitrous, which actually drop the evo slightly and increase the performance point, but it doesn't really hurt me in the grand scheme of things, and it puts me at 10.275, which is actually not a bad spot. Now the car is kind of set up in the 10.2 dyno range. 10.27 One thing I noticed recently is that when you go back into lobby, you may or may not actually get lobby advantage. Run very carefully for your first run, figure out where you are, then decide how hard you're going to run it. The other thing is, don't run cars that are obviously going to beat dyno, like this thing. This one usually doesn't beat dyno, but I don't know how he's tuned. He might be down tuned. So I want to find a car that this one down tunes can beat dyno. So this one beats dyno by about 0.2. So if he runs all out, he should run 10.0 in here. And therefore, I have to be careful not to run my car all out and just watch what he does. So I can gauge exactly where I am. I'm not going to worry about the fact that I didn't get a good launch, because I'm not trying to win. I'm actually just trying to find out where I am. I should push him a little harder, because he could slow down too. Right? So very slow run on my part, but let's take a look what he ran. That's the important part. 10.5. That's good. Assuming that he ran all out, which I don't think he did, this is probably the 10.6 lobby. Okay? That car, unless they know what they're doing with the tune and launched it perfectly with a needle drop, would run about 0.1 to 0.2 under dyno. So that's a good gauge of the lobby I'm in. Let's take a look at this car. This car is low performance point, high evo, beats dyno slightly, not great. Again, if I push him a little, I could find out what lobby I'm actually in. So one more run, and then I'm pretty confident where I am. I could start running my car. Right? So this time I'm going to run a little faster and make him kind of push his car. But I'm going to stop in third and watch if he catches me. He does. Now again, I'm running my car slightly slower than what I could run on purpose to see what he can run. Based on these numbers and based on the cars that I'm facing, I can pretty confidently say that my 10.275 dyno is in the 10.6 lobby. 10.6 doesn't mean everybody runs 10.6. That could mean the good cars will run 10.4 to 10.6. The normal cars in there would run somewhere between 10.5, high 10.5 to high 10.6, and then the crappy cars in there would run 10.7, 10.8. So that's why I'm saying it's 10.6 lobby. It's kind of the average dyno that and runtime of people in here. They're mostly in the 10.6s. I'm gonna win this one, and this one should be like a 10.5 and change run, maybe still a 10.6 run. Yep, 10.5 and change. So again, because the game has released a lot more better cars, even if you're in the 10.6 lobby, do not expect to run everybody who's going to run 10.6. Now, he's a little upset. I beat him by a hair. He's going to re-challenge. Now, the disadvantage of that car is that while it's a good car with lobby advantage most of the time, it does not have top end, which means once I pass that car, I'm pretty much guaranteed to control the run, right? Because I have the top end. So unfortunately for him, he ran. So I think he was hoping I would give him this run. He's running me again. I'll give him this one because I actually don't want to keep going. We're trying to end this video at some point in a reasonable amount of time. So he's gonna run again. This time he's probably gonna run all out. I think he misshifted or something on the last one. His car is a 10.5 car all day long, and I know for a fact he can run better than what we ran in the first run, or very close to it consistently. So, right. Again, thank you DSC for running with my account to kind of give people a chance to see what this car does live racing. All right, let's go back and wrap up this video. So I didn't run all out because I kind of want to know where I am lobby wise, and I've used this car in faster lobbies already, so it could already have some lobby advantage built in based on how I was driving it before. So that 10.2 dyno put me right at 10.6. Now, don't expect that on your end. When you copy and paste my setup, you may very well end up against 10.2 opponents rather than 10.5 opponents. In that situation, if you run all out, you will, in fact, be stuck in 10.2 where the car will be less competitive. You don't want that. You want to run in 10.5, 10.6 range with your 10.2 car that can run 10.1s. All right, so that is the Aston Martin Valour. One of the better live racers in the game all around. Easy car to build because of Aston Martin Fusions being relatively easy to obtain. good car, high evo, low performance point, beats dyno just enough to be worth it. Now, it can beat dyno by a little more as it gets into a little bit higher upgrade levels. In fact, it's part of the reason why I would say this car would almost be better built at this kind of a level where it'll have higher performance, but also can beat that dyno by about 0.2 pretty consistently. That puts it at like an 8.7 like that. And I think it can run 8.5 on that 8.7 dyno. That's just a stronger setup. So this car actually shines more in the oh, Nitrous didn't want to go off. This car actually shines more in the faster lobbies. Because my Nitrous came a little late, this will be like an 8.69, 8.6 whatever run. I didn't get the dyno beating. Oh, barely ran dyno on that one. So the Nitrous kicking off is kind of important here. But the point is that this car should beat dyno somewhat no matter where you put it. So it's an overall good car, good live racer, and good luck with this car. I was expecting to see more of them in the lobbies. I haven't seen as many as I expected. But in any case, I hope you liked the video and some of that information is helpful to you. Let me know what you think. Feel free to share any information you like in the chat or in the comments. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like my channel and you like this kind of videos, subscribe, hit the bell, and you get notified when I put up new videos. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.